Um, so you know that feeling when you've just finished like the ultimate self-improvement routine?
Oh, yeah. You feel completely invincible for, what, about 5 minutes?
Right, exactly. Like you did your morning meditation, you drank the ridiculously overpriced green
You've
juice.
journaled all your gratitude.
Yes. And for those 5 glorious minutes, you genuinely feel like you have finally achieved true inner peace.
But then reality hits.
Exactly. You step out your front door, someone aggressively cuts you off in traffic, and instantly, like 0 to 60, your heart is racing.
And you're right back to being a bundle of absolute rage and anxiety.
It is so exhausting. And, if you have ever felt completely burned out by this relentless pursuit of fixing yourself, this deep dive is exactly for you.
Yeah, because we are talking about a profoundly universal modern kind of exhaustion today.
Right. We're all running on this endless treadmill, right?
Yeah.
Trying to optimize our minds, our bodies, our spirits.
We download the apps, we go to the retreats, we do the ice baths. And yet, for most of us, that underlying baseline of anxiety rarely seems to, shift in any permanent way.
So for this deep dive, we are exploring a radically different approach. We are pulling from the work of Dr. David R. Hawkins.
A very prominent psychiatrist and consciousness researcher.
Right. And his central thesis, which is outlined in his book called Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender, it completely flips our modern self-improvement obsession on its head.
It really does. His approach is wildly countercultural because, well, it actually requires doing less, not more.
Which is such a relief to hear, honestly. So our mission today is to explore this highly practical mechanism to clear out our mental sludge.
We're going to demystify what the concept of letting go actually means in your daily life, not as some, lofty spiritual ideal.
Right, but as a physical, real-time practice. And we're going to show you why our usual hard work approach to happiness might actually be the very thing keeping us unhappy.
It's a huge paradigm shift, and Hawkins points out this massive paradox right away.
Oh, right, about what all the great teachers say.
Exactly. Every great philosopher, sage, and teacher throughout history has said some version of the exact same thing, that peace, joy, and a sense of profound well-being are already within you.
Like, it's our default setting. The kingdom of heaven is within, that kind of thing.
Yes, they are innate to the human spirit, but that immediately begs a really critical question, doesn't it?
Yeah, like, if happiness is our default, endowed state, why do we so often feel awful?
Right. Why does the journey to inner peace usually feel like you're trying to run through wet cement?
It really does. And Hawkins argues that it comes down to this accumulated sludge of non-peace that we carry around inside us.
Just a massive reservoir of negative feelings that we build up over a lifetime.
And unfortunately, our society has aggressively trained us in pretty much the absolute worst ways to handle this sludge.
Primarily through what he calls the Protestant ethic.
That's the classic no pain, no gain mentality, right? The idea that anything worth having requires you to suffer for it. That is the core of it, yeah. We are deeply conditioned to believe that worldly success and even spiritual success, interestingly, absolutely requires suffering and toil.
Just keeping our nose to the grindstone.
Exactly.
Oh.
We genuinely believe that if we just exert enough effort, if we just push ourselves hard enough, we will eventually break through the misery and arrive at happiness.
So when we feel that inner turmoil, we immediately look outside of ourselves for a solution to fix it.
Right. We try to acquire a new skill, or we buy a new product.
Or adopt a new philosophy just to, force the peace into existence.
Yeah.
Hawkins actually lists the frantic things we do to try and fix ourselves, and it's honestly a little humbling to read.
It's so relatable, though.
It really is. You see the sheer desperation of the human condition. Like, we take up complex philosophies, we tap our foreheads, we try to balance our chakras.
Oh, or we go on extreme diets where we only eat cabbage.
Yes. People try staring at the sun, screaming a primal scream, joining obscure groups, bouncing between endless varieties of psychotherapy.
We stumble down these dark, blind alleys, we get completely disillusioned when the anxiety returns, and then what do we do?
Just sign up for another workshop and try harder?
It really highlights the absurdity of the external search. We wrap all these complex belief systems in impressive jargon, but the underlying assumption is always the same.
Which is that the solution is somewhere outside of us.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That it's outside of us and we must work tirelessly to grasp it. But all this relentless effort hasn't brought us actual peace.
No, we still harbor festering resentments, and we are still incredibly vulnerable to criticism.
Okay, let's unpack this because Hawkins contrasts the mechanism of effort versus the mechanism of surrender in a really cool way.
The rope analogy, right?
Yeah. So we tend to view our goals like a game of tug of war with a brick wall. We think the only way to get where we want to be is to hitch ourselves to a thick rope and just pull with all of our might.
Restraining, sweating, getting terrible rope burn. Exhausting ourselves. And the wall just isn't moving. But letting go isn't about giving up on what you want. It's simply having the realization to drop the rope.
It's recognizing that the intense effort is actually the problem.
Right. And that transition from external effort to internal surrender is basically the crux of this entire philosophy.
Because if looking outside ourselves doesn't work and pulling on the rope doesn't work, we are left holding this massive, constantly building internal pressure of negative emotions.
So how is the average person currently dealing with that buildup?
Well, Hawkins outlines three major coping mechanisms that humans rely on, and they are all fundamentally flawed.
Let's walk through those, starting with the most common one, which is suppression and repression.
Right. This is where we simply push the feelings down. If it happens unconsciously, it's repression.
And if we do it consciously, it's suppression.
Exactly. We push the negativity down because we just don't know what else to do with it. And expressing it often conflicts with our social training.
You can't just yell at your boss in the middle of a meeting.
Right. But the laws of physics apply to our psychology here.
Yeah.
That suppressed energy doesn't just vanish. It accumulates.
It seeks expression through, like, psychosomatic physical issues.
Yes, chronic tension, migraines, insomnia. And psychologically, relying on suppression forces us to use a defense mechanism called projection.
I want to make sure we define projection clearly because we see this everywhere.
It's incredibly common.
It's when we deny that a feeling exists inside of us, so we project it outward onto the world. We say, I'm not an angry person, the world is just full of hostile jerks.
Right. We place the blame for our feelings on other people, on institutions, on politics, or even on the weather.
We literally make the world the enemy so we can maintain this illusion that we are just innocent victims.
And that leads directly into the second faulty coping mechanism, which is escape.
Oh, this one is tough to hear.
Escape is the avoidance of our inner feelings through constant diversion. It is the invisible engine driving the entertainment industry, the alcohol industry, and our modern obsession with workaholism.
I actually encourage anyone listening to just reflect on your own daily habits for a second. How often do you flick on the TV or start a deep dive the very second you enter an empty house?
Or how often do you compulsively pull out your phone while waiting in a checkout line?
Yes, just to avoid even 30 seconds of sitting alone in silence with your own mind. The modern attention economy is basically designed to help us escape our internal pressure.
We are terrified of our own inner silence because there is so much unhandled negativity lurking down there.
Okay, so suppression pushes it down and escape distracts us from it. But I want to push back on the third mechanism Hawkins mentions.
Expression.
Yeah, expression.
Yeah.
Because, wait, I grew up being told, and I think most of us were, that expressing yourself is the healthy way to handle emotions.
That's what we've all been taught.
Right. If you are furious, you are supposed to vent to a friend or punch a pillow or go to one of those rage rooms and smash plates. Are we saying that entire concept is wrong?
It is a deeply ingrained cultural belief, but yes, Hawkins argues it is fundamentally flawed. He points out that this is a widespread misunderstanding of the early work of Sigmund Freud. Freud observed that suppression caused neurosis, so society, logically but incorrectly, assumed that expression must be the ultimate cure.
But it's not.
No, venting a negative feeling actually propagates it. It reinforces the neural pathways of that emotion.
So, by screaming into the pillow or ranting to my coworker, I am not releasing the anger. I'm just fueling it.
You are keeping the circuitry of that anger highly active. Furthermore, when you express negative feelings by dumping them on others, they experience it as a psychic attack.
Oh, wow. That makes sense.
It damages relationships because you are forcing someone else to absorb your negativity. But here's the most insidious part of expression. It merely lets out just enough of the inner pressure so that the rest of the feeling can be comfortably suppressed again.
Oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. You haven't actually resolved the core anger.
Not at all.
You've just bled off the top layer of steam so you can shove the rest back down into the pressure cooker without exploding.
Precisely. So if our primary coping mechanisms, suppression, escape, and expression, are just managing the pressure cooker rather than emptying it, where does that leave us?
It leaves us suffering from what we commonly but mistakenly call stress.
What's fascinating here is how Hawkins completely redefines this.
Hold on. I struggle with this concept of stress being internal. Let's say I am stuck in gridlock traffic on the highway and I am about to miss a flight for a crucial meeting.
Okay, classic stressful situation.
My heart is pounding, I am sweating, I am furious. How is the traffic not the cause of my stress? I didn't create the traffic jam.
It feels incredibly counterintuitive, I know, but this is the paradigm shift Hawkins introduces. We have this idea that stress is external, that the traffic or the deadline or the rude coworker is the cause.
Because it feels like the cause.
It does. But Hawkins argues that stress is entirely internal. We are not innocent victims of a stressful world.
Or not.
No. The real source of stress is the accumulated pressure of our own repressed feelings. That internal pressure is actively seeking an outlet, and it utilizes external events, like the traffic jam, as convenient triggers to vent itself.
Wait, so the anger was already inside me waiting for an excuse.
Yes. Your readiness to react with panic or rage depends entirely on how much fear and anger is already inside you, looking for a way out. The traffic jam is just the catalyst.
That is wild.
Hawkins goes as far as to say that an internally angry person will unconsciously attract infuriating circumstances. A fearful person will perceive neutral events as terrifying. It's the psychic principle that attracts like.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because we are essentially walking around as highly pressurized traps.
We really are.
We walk into a family dinner with a lifetime of repressed resentment stuffed down inside us, and we are just unconsciously waiting for a relative to say the wrong thing.
Just waiting for it.
So we can release the steam and blame them for making us mad. We set the trap, the external world steps in it, and then we act like the victim.
In psychiatry, that mechanism is actually called displacement.
Displacement, right.
The rationalizing mind prefers to keep the true internal cause out of awareness, so it displaces the blame onto the external event. But the physical and mental toll of carrying this pressure is staggering.
Oh, the physical evidence is crazy.
Yeah, Hawkins notes that holding onto a single negative feeling instantly causes a measurable 50% loss of the body's muscle strength.
50%.
It literally weakens your physical biology.
And it mentally overwhelms you. This leads us into the Gray-La-Violette theory, which completely blew my mind because it changes how we understand the relationship between our thoughts and our feelings.
It's a total reversal of how we usually think about it.
Right. I always assumed that my thoughts caused my feelings. Like, I think a pessimistic thought about my career, and as a result, I feel anxious. But the science suggests it is the exact opposite.
It is the opposite. The feeling is the underlying energy source, and the thoughts are merely the filing system.
The filing system.
According to the Gray-La-Violette scientific theory, feeling tones actually organize our thoughts and memories. Think about a time you felt deeply insecure.
Okay.
Did your brain suddenly flood with memories of every time you ever failed, every awkward thing you said in high school, every time someone rejected you?
Yes. It's like a devastating highlight reel playing on a loop in my head.
That is Gray-La-Violette in action. The feeling of insecurity acts like a biological magnet, pulling every thought with a matching frequency out of your memory files.
Wow.
Hawkins points out that one single suppressed feeling can generate literally thousands of thoughts over a lifetime.
Thousands from one feeling.
Exactly. If you think about one painful memory you've been holding on to, look at the thousands of anxious, resentful, or plotting thoughts you've spun out over the years because of it.
So many wasted thoughts.
But if you could just surrender the underlying feeling, all of those thousands of thoughts would vanish instantly. You wouldn't need to logically argue with each individual thought.
So this is the ultimate shortcut. We spend years in therapy trying to untangle our complex thoughts, but the thoughts are just the smoke.
And the feeling is the fire.
If we extinguish the feeling, the smoke clears automatically. Which brings us to the most important part of this discussion. How do we actually do it?
Right. The practical application.
If suppressing, escaping, and venting don't work, how do we physically release the steam? How do we actually practice letting go?
Hawkins lays out a very specific step-by-step process. The first step is simple but profound. You have to become aware of the feeling and allow it to come up.
Just let it be there.
You just let it be there. You do not resist it. You do not try to change it. You do not fear it. And you do not condemn it or tell yourself you are a bad person for feeling it. You drop all moral judgment.
I think we need a concrete example here. Because when you say allow it to come up, that sounds a bit clinical.
Sure.
Think of the feeling like a stray dog that wanders into your yard. You don't grab a broom and try to aggressively chase it away. That's suppression.
Right.
But you also don't invite it inside, feed it, and adopt it. because that's venting and expression.
I love that.
You just stand at the window and calmly watch the dog pace around the yard until it eventually wanders off on its own.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. You are simply observing. And the most crucial part of this mechanism is that while you are observing the dog, the feeling, you must completely ignore all thoughts.
Ignore all of them.
Yes. You focus purely on the physical energy, the biological sensation of the feeling itself.
So let's say my boss just sent a wildly passive-aggressive email. My brain immediately starts generating 1,000 thoughts, like, how dare they? I should quit. I work so hard.
The whole narrative.
I have to actively ignore that entire storyline.
Yes, completely ignore the narrative. The mind is just making up stories and rationalizations to explain why the feeling is there.
To justify it.
Exactly. If you chase the thoughts, you will get caught in an endless loop, generating more anger. Instead, drop the story and shift your attention to your physical body. Notice the tightness in your chest. Notice the heat rising in your face. Notice the shallow breathing. Treat it like a purely biological event. It is just energy moving through your nervous system.
So you are severing the emotion from the story.
Exactly. The technique is to be with the physical sensation and surrender all efforts to modify it. It is actually our resistance to the feeling that keeps the feeling going.
When we fight it.
When you stop resisting, when you stop fighting the sensation, the energy behind the feeling simply dissipates. It runs its course and the internal pressure drops.
Hawkins gives this incredibly relatable example of how this feels when it happens spontaneously. Have you ever been in an intense, heated argument?
Oh, sure.
You're furious, your blood is boiling, you feel completely attacked, and then suddenly something shifts. The absurdity of the whole situation just strikes you, and you start to laugh.
Yes, the tension just breaks.
In that split second, the pressure is entirely relieved. You go from anger and fear to feeling totally free. Letting go is about learning to consciously recreate that drop in pressure at will without needing the spontaneous laugh.
It is the conscious cessation of inner resistance. But, as anyone who tries this will quickly discover, applying it in the heat of the moment isn't always easy.
Right. Because when you are in it, when someone insults you to your face, the narrative is screaming at you.
It's so loud.
The urge to fight back or defend yourself is so overwhelming. How do you practically overcome that initial hurdle where you don't even want to let it go?
That is the most common roadblock. Hawkins advises that when you start this process, you will likely notice that you have a tremendous amount of fear, guilt, or resistance about even having the feeling in the first place.
We judge ourselves for feeling it.
Yes, you are resisting the feeling before it even fully emerges. So the trick is to deal with the resistance first.
So you let go of the feeling about the feeling.
Precisely. If you are afraid of feeling your underlying grief, you have to let go of the fear of the grief first.
Oh, I see.
If you feel guilty because you are angry at your children, you have to surrender the guilt first. You allow yourself to say, it is physically okay that I am experiencing this energy of guilt right now. I am just going to feel the tightness in my stomach.
And once you do that,
Once you surrender the reaction to the feeling, the core feeling itself can safely surface and dissipate.
So what does this all mean for us long term? If this process is fundamentally simple, just observe the physical sensation without the thoughts until it evaporates, and it brings such immediate relief. Why aren't we just walking around doing this all day long?
That's a great question.
Why do we slip back into our old habits of stressing and complaining?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, to understand that, we have to look at what is actually losing power when we let go.
Okay.
Surrender is the undoing of what Hawkins calls the small self, or the ego. And the bizarre, uncomfortable truth is that our ego actually enjoys an impoverished, dramatic life.
It loves the drama. It loves having an enemy.
It thrives on it. The ego loves feeling unworthy. It loves judging other people. It loves being right. And most of all, it loves nursing its wounds and playing the ultimate victim.
Wow.
When you start letting go, you are dismantling the ego's entire operating system. You are taking away its food source. And the ego is not going to go down without a fight. It will create massive resistance.
Hawkins warns us about this explicitly, actually. The ego will literally make you forget to surrender.
Yeah, you'll just completely forget the tool exists.
You will go 3 weeks suffering through stress at work before you suddenly remember, oh, wait, I have a tool for this. I can just let this go.
Or the ego will use that old Protestant ethic programming against you.
Oh, right.
It will convince you that this technique is too easy, that you don't deserve to feel peaceful unless you suffer and work hard for it first.
Or, paradoxically, the ego will attack you when the technique starts working perfectly.
Oh.
You let go of a major resentment, you feel incredible, your life improves, and suddenly the ego steps in and says, well, you're fine now. No need to keep surrendering.
Ah, yes. It wants you to stop the daily momentum.
Exactly, so it can quietly rebuild its supply of negativity in the background. It reminds me of the movie Tron, which Hawkins actually references to explain this.
I love this analogy.
So think of the ego as a master control program or a computer virus that has been running your brain's operating system for decades.
Running in the background.
Right.
Oh.
Suddenly, you install this incredibly effective antivirus software called Letting Go. The virus realizes it's being deleted. So what does it do?
It fights back.
It immediately generates pop-up windows in your mind telling you this antivirus software is broken, or this isn't working fast enough, or this is too confusing, you should go back to venting.
Just endless pop-ups.
It tries to trick you into uninstalling the cure just to keep you enslaved to its old painful programming.
That is a perfect analogy for the mechanism of resistance. The thought that this isn't working is actually a sign of massive progress.
Because it means the virus is scared.
It means the ego is terrified because it is losing ground. The solution to overcoming this resistance is simply to treat those pop-up windows like any other feeling.
Keep letting go.
Keep letting go of the feelings you have about the process itself. If you feel skeptical, notice the physical sensation of skepticism and let it go.
If you feel it's too hard, surrender the physical feeling of it being hard.
Exactly. You don't have to fight the ego, you just have to stop buying into its illusions.
This raises such an incredible prospect for our daily lives, because if we can commit to this simple mechanism, noticing the physical feeling, ignoring the story, and letting it pass, the real-world applications are just massive.
They really are life-changing.
Hawkins promises that as you decrease this internal reservoir of anxiety and anger, you naturally have less reliance on all those escapist habits. You don't need to numb out with your phone or a drink because there's less pain to numb out from.
And the physical benefits are just as profound. By unblocking that suppressed emotional energy, you are allowing the body to return to its natural baseline of health.
Your muscle strength literally returns.
Yes. You start opening up intuitive abilities, creativity flows without the usual agonizing effort, and you begin replacing hostile, needy dependency on others with genuine, unconditional acceptance.
It is so important to clarify, too, that letting go doesn't mean you become a passive zombie who doesn't care about anything.
Right. It's not apathy.
It doesn't mean you lose your ambition. It means you can deeply enjoy your ambitions, your hobbies, and the people in your life, but your core baseline of happiness no longer depends on them acting a certain way.
You aren't desperately pulling on the rope anymore.
You are finally free. And as you practice this freedom, it raises one final profound question for anyone listening who is ready to try this technique today.
A really beautiful question to ponder.
As you continuously practice letting go, a massive shift in your fundamental identity begins to occur. You stop identifying with the emotions.
You realize that feelings of anger or sadness come and go like clouds, but there is a part of you that remains constant, simply observing the sky.
You move from being the experiencer of the emotion to being the witness of it. Which brings us to a really deep, lingering concept that I want to leave you, the listener, to mull over today.
I think they'll appreciate this.
If you sit quietly and you watch a feeling of anger or sadness rise up, and you successfully let it pass through your body, and you ignore the thousands of thoughts trying to explain it away,
then who exactly is the you that is left behind?
who is that silent presence observing the space between the thoughts? If you are not your fleeting feelings and you are not your frantic thoughts, who is the witness?
That is the ultimate realization this process points toward. And it is something no one can teach you. You can only discover it through your own personal experience of surrender.
We want to warmly thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Remember, you don't need to build a new you, and you don't need to endlessly fix yourself. You just need to drop the heavy ropes you've been unnecessarily carrying. You already have everything you need right there within yourself. Catch you next time.